All right, we're live. We're looking at finally uh, getting some tests on the level of the directive, um, which was tricky because let me just actually split to the directive as well. CDL passion. Okay, so I've got the directive on top, and my cursor is actually right on the line that was causing problems. The other directive that we tested was way simpler because it didn't call for an extra template. And in terms of testing, I'm not 100% sure if that means we necessarily need to have like a server call. I actually did throw in HTTP backend, and I set up an expectation called expect get that, well, actually, now that I've deleted it, I can't quite remember how it worked, but it basically was checking that there was like a request, an HTTP request for an extra piece of HTML. This HTML by that URL. Um, but fortunately, we didn't have to actually get involved with the HTTP level thing. There's this thing called a template cache, which you can configure in the like config setup, where you can like set up a bunch of templates that you're expecting to get called, or you can just define it inline right in the file. And there's like 3 different ways to do each of those 2 options. So don't take this as like the only way to do it, but um, right here, let me expand vertically so you guys can see more. Um, right here we have the template cache setting up for a call to this route, which is going to happen when this directive gets instantiated. And the second parameter is actually the HTML being returned when that gets called. And that template right now is just a one-liner of HTML, so this works for our needs right now. And so the other tricky thing is, this is stuff a little over my head, but we need to get root scope and compile in here. Like the thumbnail sketch on what compile is it's what Angular does to your DOM on load, basically. It goes through all the things checking for Angular behavior, and if it sees that it should sort of like hook up with it because of you know, your syntax with it, then it will.
Yeah.
And so basically I have some HTML here that I'm passing into the compiler. Now the reason why I have to do angular.element of that, I guess that's sort of how it like creates a DOM element. Beware though, it doesn't actually append this to the DOM. It just sort of like creates it free floating. You won't be able to use jQuery to find this stuff. And so anyway, we shovel that into the compiler for both pieces, which I purposely did in a non-dry way here just to like be really clear about it. Then after that, notice that the compiler is called with the scope as a second argument to the function. Like this is a function that returns a function that has another parameter with scope. And after it's got those 2 pieces in there, you have to call scope.digest basically to kick it off. In the see, I'm not 100% sure. Like if you see my test above, this was the simpler one that didn't have the template URL in there, and it was merely enough to just pass it into the compiler. We didn't have to do a digest, but for this more complicated directive, for whatever reason, I had to do digest, and I don't know what digest does. I just saw people doing it on Stack Overflow.
Right.
Well, is there any reason why you use root scope instead of generating a new scope?
I don't even know what that question really means. Let's just quickly, before we get any further, let me run test unit.
Sure. Digest just walks through all the elements that are sort of registered by Angular and calls the link function on it. It's sort of like preparing the whole DOM and converting like directives into something that actually does something. So it's where the behavior is added. I think compile just like delegates a scope to the directive and sort of prepares it. So I think what I've seen around was that root scope was used to create a new scope object, which is passed into compile, and then compile gives that scope to that directive or something like that.
Um, I've got a question about that. I just want to switch my test format real quick. I'm
Sure.
really not happy with this workflow, to be honest. Basically, you have to take single run off to get the browser to stay open. Then you have to click a button to switch to a debug mode. Then you have to refresh the page and open the browser console. It was a lot fewer steps when we were doing the HTML runner version, back where you go to like localhost 8888 and you had a page there with
Uh,
all of it. I might look into bringing in an HTML runner for us. But my question about what you were saying there, I think you're probably way more knowledgeable about this than me. But could you explain, like, let me open the other directive, the one that was simpler to test. So the simpler one is now on top. The more complicated one is on bottom. The one on the bottom was the one that needed me to call digest on it. The one on the top didn't. And obviously the difference is the template URL. But do you have any idea why?
Hold on. Which one are we talking about?
So the top one is the easy one. The bottom one was the harder one to test. Let me close the bottom split so we have more room. I have two tests in my bottom split right now. The simple one that tests the CDL preview, which is at the top of the screen, and the
Okay.
more complicated one that has to test the middle one.
Right. Um, factory.preview. Hmm. Okay. Uh, Not exactly sure. So if you don't use compile, does it still pass?
Let's map a key so I can just run these tests really quickly. And we're gonna have to go without the debugger if we want the quick cycle. Uh,
Sure.
so once it'll open a browser, but I turn single run off, so I'll close it again. We see 2 out of 2 success done without errors. But if I comment out that line, RT. So basically, factory.editor.getValue is the part where it's failing. Factory.editor is coming in undefined. If you want, we can go in there with a debugger and find out, like, inside the setEditor method, exactly where that's failing. Whether it's the element that's coming in null, or whether it's,
Hold on.
it would have to be that.
Viewing? Oh, okay. Let me just SSH so I can see stuff clearly. Um,
The I Since this is terminal based, I really would have hoped that we could have an in-terminal debugger. Unfortunately, we're still stuck with debugging in the browser, which is fine for me, but we can't all be looking at the same debugger, unfortunately. So I could switch this into debug mode, and we could all open separate browsers, but then we can't see what we're all doing.
right.
Can you give it more vertical space, or is that the max height of your?
Let me zoom out. There?
Sure.
Better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm gonna tweak the screen real quick and put it back.
So it looks like compile does um, so compile does call link, I think. Can't remember. Which branch are you on?
Grunt.
Okay. what was it testing? CDL editor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess it does call link when it compiles. I don't even remember what digest was supposed to do, but I know it was some important step. But right. So compile calls. Looks like it does call the link function, and when you link something, it will set the editor. So without compiling, without calling compile, it will just be, the editor won't be set, and then you call factory dot whatever. It's factory dot preview. It's going to be undefined. That's my guess.
Um,
Which, oh,
let's
did you
pull up
comment
the.
out the digest? Oh,
I did to make it fail. For you
right.
to see that we needed it. Let's switch to the actual code that we're testing. So if I were to put a debugger right here, and then switch us over to debug mode, we'll probably see, with the digest commented out, the element coming in null. But let's just test it and see. So I need to change this back to take it off single run. Then we can do run test. And you guys won't be able to see this except through the Hangout. But basically, the initial mode it drops me in is no good. If I go into the console, if you look at the sources and hit Control-O to open a file, you don't have your app in here. But if you click debug, it will give you another version that when you hit Control-O, you do have all your app in here. Now, you can manually go in here, find your file, and click on the line to set a debugger, but if you also write it, it will work as well. So I just need to refresh to catch that debugger. I lied. Okay, that debugger didn't get caught. Maybe I do need to manually set it. I'm going to go look at the factory. And I must have not saved because my debugger is not here, the one I wrote. So I'll just manually set that debugger, refresh. Okay, so it caught inside here. I could have set some other debuggers just to show that this is from the compile or whatever, but we'll go up there if we need to. Let's look at element. Element is not defined. So I'm in line, like the first line of the set editor method, and element is not defined. So let's try this again and see what happened right before we caught this debugger. Let's open the spec. Factory spec. I think the thing that happened. Let's see if I catch this debugger before the second one. Alright, we'll just have to see. Okay. Play. That's odd. I didn't ever catch the second debugger that was inside here. Okay. Got it. Really don't know what to say. I'm not able to catch two debuggers at once, apparently. That makes me unhappy. I could also try putting a debugger within the directive. Seems like it only will catch the debugger of the window I have open. which makes it hard to find the context. Yeah. So and that was weird. It just randomly pulled me into the directive window briefly and then yanked me out of it before I had a chance to do anything. So like I
It
said,
run asynchronously, maybe.
it's an interesting question. Like, I don't know if you're watching my screen, but refreshed first came up with CDL, held my
Mhm.
debugger for a moment, and then dropped me back into my one in the main code. Let me take off all the other ones. Just run this one.
My guess is it is running asynchronously, but there's a time limit, so it timed out.
I suppose. It's weird. So, and in here, element is not defined. But if I now kill this, hit Control C, go back into the code, get rid of these, save that, and I might as well save this too. It opens me a new window. 12, refresh. Got my hard-coded debugger. Now let's look at what element is. It's defined. So with all the tangle and debuggers, I couldn't really show the order of execution for whatever reason, but
Mm-hmm.
for this element that we're looking for to get passed in, for some reason I need to call digest on it. So
I was just looking it up. Digest seems to update all the bindings between elements. It might just be the relationships not updating.
okay, so
So wait.
template URL is the asynchronous part, and that's maybe why digest needs to update the binding after the asynchronous action that's completed.
Wait, template URL, possibly, yeah.
Huh.
So, hold on. I'm trying to wrap my head around what's happening. So, scope.digest. Um, so, well, can you try something instead of just leave the digest there, but instead of compiling it with a root scope, can you compile it with a new scope object, but assign that scope object outside compile? So,
Do you want to
do
type?
you mind if I take over? Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
just quickly. So, see over here, I have preview scope. Uh, how do you create a new root scope? Oh,
Sorry.
there's a bit of lag.
Yep, that was my jitter. What did you just ask?
Oh, um, how do I create a new scope object? Oh, okay.
Dollar
I'm just
sign
using
new?
it.
Yeah.
$new. Okay. And then passing it here. And somewhere here we call. This way we probably won't mix up the scopes. Like the editor scope and the preview scope.
Aren't they shared?
Not quite. They should have their own scope. So I'm just gonna try this, and then we can try like skipping the digest of each one rather than compiling them both at the same time. Okay, can you try that?
Okay. W
I think.
or colon WA to make sure you got it all saved, and then comma RT.
Sure, hold on. Let me get rid of the debugger. Or unless you want to keep it there. Does comma RT still work for
Actually,
JavaScript?
if we just want to run this without the debugging it in the browser, let me switch over here. Change that back to true. So then comma RT will just kick it off and we'll see the results in like 5 seconds.
Cool. How do you make it detect like what type of file you're on?
Huh?
Or did you have a new binding setup so comma RT runs comma specifically? Because I thought you had comma RT to run, bound to run RSpec.
No, I leave comma RT unbound, and so if you want to see what I map it to, you can always just do comma or colon map and then the binding, and it tells
Oh,
you
okay.
that I mapped it to just that shell command.
Right. Cool. I thought you had a function that determines what to do. Anyway. Okay. So
I didn't even look at the output of that test. Did it pass?
yeah, it passed. Doesn't tell you much when it passes.
So see
Right.
if you can do without the digesting the easier one. Which is the easier one? The one that's a preview.
Okay, let's try that. Okay, so that worked. Factory.preview.html. So that worked, and if let me try getting rid of that. Cannot call get value of undefined. So what was it? So the editor needed to be digested for whatever reason. Why is that? Undefined.
If you were to take out the template URL, this would not need digest, I'm willing to bet.
Template URL. Up here. So if I do that,
It probably will still fail because it won't.
yeah.
The element won't have the children that it needs. But
Oh
maybe it'll
yeah,
fail
true.
differently. Go ahead and let's run it that way though, just to see what the different failure would be. I would get rid of that.
Sure.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. It didn't fail anyway. Cannot read
Right.
property env of undefined.
So what happened was, and that comes out of ace.edit being called on
Yeah.
undefined. So
hmm
slightly different error message. It basically, yeah. Without the digest, there never is an element even passed in. Whereas if we do without the digest and without the template URL, it passes in an element, but the element doesn't have the information to make the logic work. But the
Okay.
weird thing is that I bet if we set a debugger in make editable, the one that is, it's just like the fact that element isn't defined when you set a debugger in there is sort of weird to me. Maybe like it be like we were suggesting with it being asynchronous.
hmm
Maybe if there's a template URL, it basically locks up element until template URL is resolved, and then once it's resolved, it passes an element because it's these tests are synchronous. It's just like a millisecond too late, and so it passes in as undefined or whatever. Null,
Right.
actually.
Okay.
Whereas digest basically might give it a second chance, or I don't know.
Yeah. There's a way to test that. Is there any way to like say wait in JavaScript?
They're in Jasmine. Yeah, that's a good idea. Jasmine. Let's just go to the GitHub thing of it. I'm going to go to the 2.0 documentation and just search async. Alright. So I'll link this in case you haven't found it yet, but you still have to search down the document for the term async. It looks like we could try this done thing. Let me just search done to see how it's used.
Okay.
Not sure if that's going to be helpful. If, like, because what we need is, like, something we can put in the synchronous body of the if block to, like, block until the previous call finishes. I'm not seeing it being used that way, though.
I think it's called at the end of an asynchronous function.
Yeah, so we basically would have to somehow, like, put it into the function we're testing, which doesn't make sense for us.
Right. Hold on.
Check step
So I'm
as
gonna
well.
try this way. Have you seen my little change? So I'm just
Take
gonna
out
stack
the
timeout. Go on.
right. Take out the digest. So,
Oh yeah. Good point.
did you save before you ran there?
Yeah. Okay, so you are right. It does take a little time to resolve. Calling digest forces it to update. So if this was called immediately, well, there'll still be a bit of like a race condition of some sort. Let's see what happens. Nope. Cannot call something of undefined if I just call it 10 milliseconds later, which depending on the accuracy of the system clock. So you were right.
Interesting.
Template URL is resolved asynchronously, so calling it just a little bit later works, but the proper way would be to call digest and have it force update itself synchronously.
Well,
Alright.
I bet digest basically blocks until all the calls of that scope have finished.
Okay.
That'd be my
I want
guess.
to try something else. Can we just call root scope.digest and that will update everything?
Hmm.
I hope so. Oh, okay, cool. Right, so calling root scope.digest probably walks down like all the existing scope objects.
We could
Calling
maybe break
digest.
that into an after each block right at the top.
After each?
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, that doesn't make sense.
Uh,
Yeah, because that would come after. Never mind. Yeah, we'd have to manually write that in the tests that need it, I guess.
Yep. Well, setting up all this setup can go inside of a for each, actually, and put it inside like a separate context or something. That's what I think. Cool. Yeah, I'm getting a better understanding of Angular now. That's kind of cool. So what about you guys, Paul and Pete? You've been silent all this time. What do you guys think?
Just sitting here and marveling.
Okay.
I don't get a lot of what's going on here. I mean, there's obviously a lot of complexity to Angular, and the tests need to wrap that complexity.
This is sort of like an integration test, so it has a lot of setup. We won't be writing all our tests like this. But basically, this one is especially long because we need to first have the other, the CDL preview, the simpler one. That's not asynchronous. We need that in there. And then we need another one that is asynchronous, and there's like 4 lines for that, really.
Yeah.
And once all those are ready, we can just do the assertion at the bottom that they match. So.
Okay. Cool. So, what else do you plan on testing?
Well, I commented out all the tests we had before.
Alright. Yeah. We probably want to uncomment those. By the way, did you know there is a shortcut for commenting in Vim?
What is it?
It is GC, which I didn't find out for a long time.
Wow. What does that break
Yeah.
down to? Oh, is that what it is down there at the command line? T comment may be inline.
I guess so. I haven't really looked at much what Vim does behind the scenes. I really
Well,
should.
that's
Oh,
obviously a plugin.
yeah, must be. But the extra quote, angle brace, comma, quote, another angle brace. No idea what that's doing. It's
You get
supposed to
that
mean
whenever
something.
you are doing a visual selection. So, for instance, if you were trying to, actually, this is a good example right here. It'll be really dumb, but say we want to line up all these visual braces, put it in visual mode, and then I colon into here, and it instantly prepends that. Basically, that's a selection parameter. Then
Okay,
tabularize / equals. So.
cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Didn't know that. Yeah. By the way, do you have a copy of that Vim book? I realized the one that is available from work is outdated, like
It's not
old version.
7.4. Yeah, I have a copy. I'll send it to you.
It's a beta version,
Oh,
which kind of sucks.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the not finished version.
Right.
So, yeah, I'd like to have a more up-to-date version.
Sure.
So, I can ask Arrow if you don't have, like,
Yeah, I have it. I'll send it to you. Okay,
cool.
so do you think it's necessary or good practice to be setting separate scopes in here?
I think that's what should be happening. If you pass in root scope, it's using the root scope to compile. To compile
So it's not
it.
even realistic, you're saying, and so we shouldn't do
Yeah.
that. Because we might have a test
Um,
go green when it's actually
yeah.
broken.
And maybe when you have multiple editors, passing in the same scope would mean you're just replacing the old scope's value with, whatever is defining a directive.
Okay.
Right? Do you get what I mean? Yeah. So you really want to be creating new scopes for each directive. That's what I think. Not sure if they're doing something intelligent when you pass in root scope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My guess is if you have multiple previews or multiple previews, it's not gonna work well.
Okay. So let's then get some
Actually, then.
initialization into it before each block. Go ahead.
Oh no, never mind. I just. Well, let me try something. So if I preview scope, compile it. This, wait, this is editor's factory. Okay, so edit the scope, pass that in, editor. So I want to try and expect editor scope dot. I didn't expose anything to scope, did I? Oh no, no, this is factory. I should be looking at the directive editor. No?
CDL.
Oh yeah, passions editor. Link set editor. Oh, I should be looking at set editor. Oops. Did I go too far?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I lagged. Control I will bring you the other way.
Yeah. Set editor. No, I'm not doing anything with the scope object. Okay, I'm just gonna do something here. Dummy equals to true. And here expect scope dot dummy to be defined.
Before you run this, go up to the second before each block and blow away the line I threw in there. It's gonna blow you up.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I probably wouldn't blow it up. You'll just assign it to the window object.
No, I was doing something with an undefined thing. I hadn't injected it yet into that before each.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay, so this will work. I hope. No? Expected undefined to be defined.
Try it after the digest.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks. Good catch. Now what I want to do is here. Well, anyway, you get the point. It is assigning something to the scope, and having them share the same scope is not going to work.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I prefer to create new scopes for each directive.
Yep. So let me send some stuff up into that before each block. Oh, actually, I have a question. You see how in this before each, oops, 19K, we have injector here. Can an injector get everything? Like am I able to get root scope out of injector so I don't need to inject anything but the injector?
I haven't used the injector much, so I don't know. You're probably more of an expert on this than me.
It's worth a shot. Get how does this
dollar root scope, I guess.
Yeah. I noticed well, never mind. So we could actually just separate a bunch of things here. Well, actually let's start with that. And do I not have relative? Oh. Actually, okay, yeah. So let's see if we can do that, for instance. Says root scope is not defined because I referred to it incorrectly. If I do this, I need to do it with the dollar, without the dollar. Okay, cool. Um, do you think I should not expose root scope, but just set up in here the two scopes? How many scopes do we need? Are these scopes only happening when we're testing the directives?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, okay. So we didn't have to worry about this before we try the directives. So I'm just going to
Oh, never mind.
do, what is it going to be called? Preview scope, and what's the other one? Editor scope. Okay, let's. Oops. So we won't need that. That. We call root scope that digest here, so we need to change this to um, editor scope that digest.
You need to call them individually, and preview scope as well.
What?
Just to be. You have to call digest on a preview scope.
No, I don't, because it's not asynchronous.
Oh yeah, true. It's probably good practice to call it anyway.
I would want to avoid it. So that blew up
Sure.
because I was. Oh, I should just put that in the change inside there for the preview scope. Alright, we're back to green. So that was a cleanup. We could also do this whole thing with the template cache in a where would I want that? Probably the same place, I guess. Just sort of a messy everything I need before each block, I suppose.
Is it good practice to use injector rather than having like those passed in as to the function arguments?
Honestly, I don't know.
Because I think what would be equivalent is, can I try something?
Mm-hmm.
So if I get rid of this and just use, oops, editor's factory, and oops, instead of passing an injector, I can call root scope, editor's factory. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try this. So I guess that would be equivalent.
Good.
Yeah.
Alright. So I guess injector is optional. You could just call to the
Yep.
thing directly.
Yep. I guess they use injector in the background to do all this magic.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm not sure if it's a good idea to use having just one passing an injector or passing in multiple arguments. But I think this looks cleaner to me.
I agree. Um, we could reduce things being inserted here by putting compile in the global namespace.
Right?
Or we could just not do that, though.
Yeah, I think it's best not to do that. I don't know what other magic goes on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Compile.
And also we could just take these angular.elements, because it looks like we probably want to repeat that elsewhere, and bump those up into the global namespace, or into a before each. When I say global, I mean global for this overall test suite.
Mhm. Oh, by the way, I think just to be more angular, instead of saving factory outside the test, we can just inject them into each scenario. So we can call, for example, editors factory, and in here, get rid of this and replace it with editors factory. What do you think?
I don't really see
Feels
the...
more like,
Go ahead.
I mean, it feels more like we're doing what Angular's supposed to be doing, because this is how it works, and how we're going to be writing code in.
Yeah, I mean, it also feels painful.
Yeah, true. Saving it outside is a short little hack. Well, personally, I like this style. It makes it explicit that we're using the factory that is provided by Angular,
Mm-hmm.
like the factory module. Um, do you prefer the other syntax?
I mean, this feels like we're not using let in our spec. You know? Like, there's a
Okay.
trade-off where when the let is a mile away, then it does become unclear. And so I could understand why people would be reintroducing things. What we could do, yeah, I mean, we could do this, but by the 50th spec, we might get really tired of having to repeat a bunch of arguments in every anonymous function that gets injected. So we'll see. Let's try for now.
Okay.
Do we want to compiled, like basically everything with the last line of this if block, and put that up into a before each?
Yeah, I think we should be doing that. Having it under like a nested describe or context block for the test.
Or maybe instead of worrying about that, we could just try to rebuild our tests here
Okay.
and see what we need. So these are nested, aren't they? Let's go the wrong way. So what does this need to close? Probably needs curly. Where are you? Probably needs that. Okay, I screwed that up. What doesn't need. Maybe it doesn't need that. Okay. So
Document is not defined.
not sure where that's coming from. Oh, yeah, right there.
It's not injected.
No, it's not. I don't think we need it. I mean, so this is our old before each block. This isn't what we want. I don't even know what the heck that is. Let's just forget
Well, feel
this.
free to change it completely.
Yeah. I think we should just comment out this before each and see what the failing tests require.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Commodity. Apparently they don't require anything. Actually, there is already a before each in here. Okay. So that was probably the old global before each.
Right.
So let's try the next describe block. So we have something called parent, which is not allowed. Element.parent. Why would we be asking for this? This is about set editor. So probably element used to be something here. But I actually do that. So that's what we have in our before each. Now we need to this one down here. Okay, so we're manually calling this instead of from the directive. And so we're trying to figure out, oh, interesting, we're passing in factory as scope. Why? I'll just change that right now. Change that, even though, again, we're not really doing anything with that scope, we might as well be consistent, right?
Yeah.
And the element that we want to actually pass in here, we probably want to extract now from this one. So yeah, let's actually just slap this up here. Oh, but we actually want to expose these. So what do we want to call this one? Preview LM. Call this editor LM. And we will then down here we need to pass in the, which one do we need to pass in? I wonder if editor LM is the right thing to pass in, even. Like, does the effect of that digest apply? Confused. We might be seriously messing some things up here, but I guess we'll just try and see.
We can just call, create a new angular.element. Why did we call element.parent here?
Because we used to have well, because we named the inner piece that the template returns element, but this function takes its parent.
Okay.
And then finds that element again by calling children on it.
Right.
I mean, let's
Fine.
just see real quick what happens when we try editor lm here. Did we break all the
Not
tests?
happy about that.
Yeah, I messed something up in there. It's because I didn't update the references on 27. Right.
Compile is not defined. Are you injecting compile?
Nope. That would be why. So,
Right.
do
I can probably see why the people have moved on to using injector. This can get out of hand pretty quickly.
oh, fail. Fuck. Completely did the wrong thing there.
That's better. One failed.
Okay, good. One thing I just saw right here is that we don't need to do this right here, I believe. Okay, still one failure. Let's actually see which one that was.
Be right back.
Okay. Line 56. Expect. 174.
There's another element dot parent now.
Yep. What did I do last time? Editor lm worked, I think. So this one is 95. Oh, old jQueries. What we really want is probably none of this. Okay, before I do that, let's look at editor. This is going to be this right here. It's looking for the editable. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Did we? This is obviously out of date. Oh, okay, so this is asking for the child of it, isn't it? Whoops, that wasn't so hard. Editor dot children 0. And we can oh, interesting. Maybe I didn't want update preview, update editor, stuff that preview is make editable. I wonder if I actually shouldn't have broken this down. Editor. What is the editable region normally? Make editable. It's called by. What did I need here? Well, let me just try the easy thing first and do. Where's their reference to L 597? Okay. Okay. Back in business.
I'm gonna drop off now and go feed the dogs. Probably go to bed.
All right.
But, it's been interesting. I've seen a lot more of the internals of Angular than I probably ever wanted to. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Alright, see you later.
All right. See ya.
Hey, I'm back. Did Pete have to leave?
Yep. He just took off.
Oh, okay.
All
That's a
right.
shame.
So
So what have you got so far?
just been opening the tests and filling in the necessary things. So this is editor lm. $132. Okay, so done this drill before. In fact, this could probably be extracted up, but whatever. Change to that, and this is gonna be view and get that. Okay. Yep. All right. Let's just put I need to make a macro for this exact thing right here.
You mean a describe block?
No, for the comma function, curly, add a
Oh,
semicolon, enter, open a space. All that would be perfect.
yeah. So it's just these specs, right? Do you think the pull requests will be ready anytime soon?
Well, it's ready, but now we need to figure out if, like, the trade-offs of this different workflow. Like,
Hmm.
uh, maybe we could get slightly more verbose output for the command line rather than just a bunch of dots, and that's probably going to be easy. And then we could maybe figure out if there's a HTML runner we can get in here, so we could use that for debugging. So we could have grunt test unit HTML, right?
Uh-huh.
And then that would give us the one that doesn't close and gives us the readout on a page where we can just immediately drop into the debugger.
Okay.
Short of that, we could just wire this extra option up to just immediately drop us into the second page with the debugger, because that's only like, if you look at the window that pops up when you click debug, it just adds something to the URL. So we could just hardwire sort of like what's it called? The okay, so persistent maybe. Oh, that's too persist. Persist, and that could just drop us over to the one with the debugger, maybe.
Okay. Hmm. Let me see what Google has to say. I guess there is no way to do it. Or is there? Yeah, I guess there is no way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at how to get HTML runners into our, if we do like Karma HTML runner, Google that. Sometimes known as a spec runner. I think just HTML runner will pull stuff up. Nope, maybe we do need to say spec runner.
Have you figured out how to make it run in a new tab of the current window rather than creating a new window altogether?
That's an interesting question. I haven't even tried to Google that yet.
Because I find
So,
it annoying,
yeah, true.
personally. Let's look at the GitHub of Karma Chrome Launcher. Hmm.
So I found something, but we need to come up with a spec runner file, HTML, of our own.
Okay.
You know, maybe we could just dig into the Jasmine Rails and find their HTML
Yeah.
file and just rob it. I remember
That
tinkering
won't be
with
too
that
bad.
a while ago. Let me see if I can find it.
Can you share the link?
Well, I don't have it yet, but if you Google Jasmine
Okay.
Rails, you can GitHub, and I was just gonna dig around in there.
No, I mean the link to that post that you were reading.
Oh, the grunt runner, the grunt. Yeah. Here we go.
Cool. Thanks. This is for Jasmine specifically, not Karma?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it would be just a grunt task.
Right.
Karma isn't for that. Karma is running all your tests in 4 different browsers. But
Okay.
maybe it won't be in lib app views. Spec runner, I think I found it. Oh, no, it's an empty file. Okay. That is a starting point.
Right.
So I
Well,
didn't
if
know you
it's
could do that in ERB.
what's that?
This asterisk. I wonder what that
Oh,
does.
I think it just explodes an array
Okay, so will this
into.
style link tag every single one of these?
It'll pass it as multiple arguments, I believe.
Right. Right.
It's kind of like calling JavaScript dot apply with an array.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think stylesheet. Yeah, stylesheet link tag and JavaScript link tag will accept multiple arguments, and for each argument it will create JavaScript file for that, for
So
whatever file it was.
the things that's actually referring to there are method names defined in a helper
Hmm.
that, like you said, are an array of files.
Hmm.
Wonder if I could
That's
just do
interesting.
Rails S and inspect these.
Well, if it's looking to be too complicated, I'd say it doesn't matter. We can keep Chrome. I mean, having Chrome open a new window. It's not, so bad. I
That's not what I
usually.
was looking for.
Hmm?
I was looking for an HTML runner so we can be loaded a nice static page when we want one.
Okay.
I mean, that's something in addition to possibly opening it in the same window.
Right. I wonder if we can just reuse Jasmine's spec runner that comes bundled with the library,
Yeah.
and Railsify it or whatever.
Parse it, yeah.
Yeah.
Jasmine CSS. Yeah, actually that would probably make things easier. Well, actually, if all it's doing is just grabbing one file from here and one file from there, we might as well just write a grunt task to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Should be good practice.
Right.
In fact, it's gonna need to be custom and on the grunt side because we'll need to be able to update that API. Like, I have to manually include ACE right now.
Hmm.
In the future, we might have another library that we need to get in there. So there's basically need to be a config file for this thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Or maybe we.
I think let's stop adding too much stuff to this pull request. We can, split it up into smaller bits. I prefer it that way.
Okay.
It'll make reviewing this a lot easier. So I probably need to take some time to review this pull request.
Well, you can look at it
It
right
is a
now
long
because it
one.
was already open. So when I push to origin,
Yeah,
the diff is right there.
I'm looking at it right now. This Angular seed repo comment is probably, I'll just right here.
Oh, in the bower.json?
This could be removed. Yeah. In fact, are we still? No, this isn't git ignore. Sorry. Hmm. Selenium coverage. GSH. Right. Are we using this? GSH in I guess that's just like syntax checking, isn't it? You run the
Oh, JS hint.
JSH.
Yeah, that's something that I want us to have, but
JS
right now
hint.
we can't use it because you have a vendor library sitting in the project root directory,
Oh, okay.
and so it blows
Right.
up on all the minification.
Okay.
But
In that case,
that could
can
be
you?
an easy. Well, that could be just a separate pull request.
Yeah. So can you remove it just to clean things up?
Okay.
I don't want to pull in files that are, have no won't be
So
relevant in a pull request.
it's Modernizer. Are we using that as a project?
I think Thomas introduced that. I'm not sure what it does. I'd leave it there for now.
Okay, so I'll move it to the vendor directory.
Oh yeah, that's probably a good idea. It wasn't written by us. Should stay in the vendor directory. Looks like you've pulled in, you have Selenium as well as part of the grunt task. Is it just, how did you get this grunt file? Did you copy and paste it off somewhere?
Mm-hmm. But that
Oh,
is
okay.
being used. That's part of. If you look at these commands often are composed down at the bottom to form larger things. So right there at the bottom, we have some E2E stuff that we're not using right now, and Selenium is part of that.
Right. What about protractor?
That's what I meant.
Ah, okay. So let me see. Selenium. What was the difference between Selenium and protractor again?
Well, one's a dependency of the other.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Because it's like cucumber.
Yeah. Selenium.
So I wonder if I can run the JS hint now that I moved it.
Coverage. So this coverage reporter.
Yep.
Is it being used now?
It could be.
Could be.
It works just like SimpleCov.
Yes, unit.
You can see a demo of it in the video. I would need to
What
actually look at the
video?
video. That Year of Moo video.
Oh, right. I don't think I finished watching it. Or,
Shit.
no, I did. But I
Definitely.
didn't catch the...
JS hint.
I don't think I caught the coverage part. Oh, wait, no. Oh, now I remember. Yeah, it is like. Well, we already have. What was that other coveralls? Doesn't that provide coverage data? Maybe not as well for JavaScript. Yeah. Okay. Right. All right. Do you want to try something?
What?
When you use Karma's the Karma test runner, we can have it work like growl. I mean not growl. Guard with with notifications. So there is this thing called Growly that's supposed it's like a reporter for Karma. You might be able to use it and have it run in the background, and notifications pop up when tests pass or fail.
Yep.
Oh well, let's throw that in another pull request. We just keep adding stuff onto this, and it's just gonna keep growing and growing,
Yep.
and never get through. So sorry, but yeah, let me just paste the link anyway. Maybe you can investigate this another time.
Yeah, we already have support for watching files,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably half that.
Which is yeah. Well, Karma start is gonna watch the files.
I don't think so. We have specific instructions for watch in there. If you control
Auto
F1.
watch
Yeah.
already. But when I ran Karma start, it will automatically watch by
Oh,
default.
maybe that's part of it then.
I think that it's just being explicit. Auto watch set to true. But I think that's the default behavior of Karma start.
Hmm.
Serve. Do we need serve? Grunt serve. Feels like this is more tuned for a node backend. A couple of these tasks. Dev serve.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just try running those grunt tasks and see what they do?
One moment.
Sure.
Semicolon on line 9. Semicolon on line 15. Semicolon on line 27. Okay, I think I see the pattern.
I'm just curious. The element.find passion as editor ID. Did that not work before?
Correct. That is jQuery, not JQLite.
Oh. Is there any equivalent JQLite
Nope.
syntax to find? Oh, darn.
Yeah, it's much more restricted.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I'm not quite happy with children. Element. Let's see. And JQLite. Find it.
So I got rid of all the missing semicolons, but we have JS hint complaining at the top of every file that refers to codealia app saying that it's not defined. Not really sure why.
Ace is not defined. Right.
Let me actually just do a little Googling.
Maybe
JS.
it doesn't work with sprockets. There's an alternative syntax called query selector. Can you try that? I'll make a comment.
Yeah. Let me take a look. Codealia.
Just looking at this Stack Overflow question. Oh, and the bower.json. If we're not going to use bower, we can get rid of at least this version.
Well, we actually are using Bower.
Are we now?
Yeah.
Okay. Then can we rename the name of the repo to something that's not the year of Mu?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And
I haven't
just
pushed
update.
it up yet.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we're using Firefox, Chrome, HTML to JS. Are we using require.js, this extension, for package.json?
Can't remember. Let's just research it.
Grunt, contrib, concat. So we have concat here as well in grunt, like the grunt as a grunt dependency. Are we going to use it as a replacement for asset pipeline? At the moment,
Um,
I don't think we are.
no, I don't think so. I
Yeah,
think a lot of things in here are just a suggestion, you know.
yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily want to delete them all out of here if we plan to continue to grow in this direction.
Okay. Although I prefer to keep, just the minimum stuff that we need in a PR and add things as we need them, because it does
Yeah,
make it a bit confusing, throwing everything at once and then using it later.
yeah.
Well, I'm not saying we have to, um, carefully look at each one and see if we really, really need it. Just a couple of things that are quite obvious, like concat require.js. I don't think we're using that. I guess we're using coverage. Shell spawn. I don't know what that does. Is that important?
I don't know.
Well, whatever. I think the two ones I'd remove are grunt, concat. What does open do?
I don't know. Look at what Karma required JS does.
Right. Grunt open. Open URLs and files from grunt tasks. Okay, that's interesting. Do we have any grunt tasks that open stuff? Open dev server, open coverage. Okay. I guess open coverage would be useful. Let's see. Grunt shell spawn. I guess we can keep it there. Looks like it just runs async processes.
So I'm not sure if require.js is actually part of the startup required by Protractor. Since we haven't really played with Protractor yet, I think just nuking random parts of our grunt file might leave us in a place where we never really can recover once we do want to figure out Protractor.
Okay. Right. Fine, I'll let this slide for a while, for now.
I mean, it's not like it's used in any other way than to run some tests on the command line, so it's not like getting mixed into a
Yeah,
production
true.
environment.
No. So are we keeping the test directory? I thought we were moving stuff to spec.
No, the other way.
Oh, so we're moving stuff from spec to test.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for that?
That's just what, I mean, usually you'll see an Angular app with app and a bunch of other directories, and then test. And then within
Okay.
test, the split between unit and E2E.
Right. Okay. I suppose we can follow that convention.
I mean, stuff that we could look at nuking right now would be the Jasmine Rails setup.
Yeah. I thought that was going to be nuked as part of this pull request.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Or we could just
Yeah, we
submit this and
have.
then have another pull request to undo the Jasmine. Rails.
Okay. Right, so it's just this test. Okay, so we're still not consistently injecting editor's factory. Sometimes we're using the global factory, sometimes we're injecting editor's factory.
Hold
Should we
on,
try and
someone
keep
just
it?
pulled up into my drive. I need to see who it is. Be right back.
Sure.
Okay, I'm back. So I can commit and push
Cool.
this up.
Sure.
Wait, did I get all your recommendations? Let me check your thing again.
The last thing I wanted to say is in the tests, we were still inconsistently injecting editor's factory and sometimes using the factory that's saved, you know, throughout the entire test.
Let's take a look at that. I don't even need this split. Okay.
Like on line 17 to 19, we're injecting editor's factory. Line 21 to 23, we're using the editor's factory that was saved in the before each block.
Right. I think this is probably the only place for injecting editor's factories. So,
yeah.
Do you want to right now go in here and update all the references?
You can update them if you want. I think I'm just nuking all the Jasmine jQuery stuff and seeing if it still works.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it's
pull request.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make a pull request to your branch, then maybe you can merge that in.
Oh, okay. change word to factory. Huh?
Cool. So this works. Do we have Jasmine as a Bower dependency?
Year. I know we're getting some of our testing dependencies there.
Okay. I wonder if it's safe for me to nuke the Jasmine gem as well.
Okay, so Bower has jQuery, Angular, Angular Route, Angular Animate, and mocks. I think we get Jasmine just from package.json.
Ah, okay, cool. That's good then. Right, so I've got rid of it, all traces of Jasmine in the gem file.
Alright, so let's go to the ignore. It's odd. How come comma T can't find my get ignore?
Comma T doesn't look for hidden files. You have to open it manually.
Okay. Alright, well, why don't we keep this comment here about Angular seed repo? It's where all these random things came from.
Okay. Yeah, if it was just a comment, then fine.
So from alright, so you want me to try element.query selector? Do you think that'll work? Or do we need to do document.query selector?
Element.query selector.
Okay. Let me just throw that in there and run the test then.
Let me make a pull request to you.
No, okay, so it doesn't have the method query selector.
Oh, okay. That's a shame. What?
I see query selector all. Is that what we're trying to do here? No, I do see query selector just by itself.
Element something dot query selector. Try.
So it looks like I have to go inside it. Element 0.
Yeah, try that. Query selector might be a raw JavaScript function.
Okay. So now it's just undefined. I probably just need to switch to using a debugger to get closer.
Sure.
Debugger. And in the front file, to go to single run. Honestly, I just need to find another task that does the exact same thing but with single run. That's false.
Yeah.
Just stop doing this. Do that as a separate pull request, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so /debug 12.
That's interesting. Hold on. Oh, we're still using bundle exec rake jasmine. I
What?
thought I made a pull request. Did
I
you merge my
accepted.
pull request?
I did.
The one that replaces rake jasmine with something else?
To be honest, I didn't look at them.
Okay. Right. Because I think I found a way to replace jasmine altogether. I thought you accepted the pull request before.
I did.
I guess
Oh.
not.
No, I did.
Oh,
Look
okay.
at the commit history. You'll see the merge, I would assume.
Okay. Commit history for grunt. Well, it doesn't have my merge yet. Maybe you haven't pushed it.
But that's not possible because I merge it on the remote. You know, like I wouldn't have to push it, I would have to pull it. It's possible maybe I didn't pull it. Oh shit, you know what? I bet I accepted it because I at one point had to do a force. So I probably accepted it then wrote over it.
Oh, okay. Right.
Because I forgot to pull and I was like, why isn't it letting me push? And I just forced it.
Right. Okay.
My bad.
That's alright. Then you probably don't want to merge mine in yet because that means rake jasmine will break.
Right.
Did you merge the pull request I just sent?
I mean, no, I haven't. It's not
Cool.
like that work is lost. Just look at my remote and look at the closed pull requests from you, and we'll get that code.
Sure. Although
Okay,
I
so I think I
think
can get this
I
to work.
can I think I know pretty much what I wrote. Grunt file, karma unit. Oops. Ah, this is karma CI. Browsers.
Alright, I think I got it passing now.
Phantom.js. What was it? What else was required in the karma conf? Yeah, I'll just look at. pull requests, closed. Alright, grunt CLI as well. Right, okay, CI, Phantom.js, Karma Jasmine. Is that it? Yep. There wasn't much. So this will completely get rid of break Jasmine. Now let me update my pull request message. Okay, that's fairly straightforward.
So instead of accepting your pull request, just so we have less unrelated commit messages, basically every merge has a commit message. Well, actually, is it going to be the same? Am I still going to get a commit message either way if I get pull from you? Probably.
Yeah.
Anything you want me to have on your grunt branch?
Hmm? Well, if you merge it in, I think it's gonna be the same.
Okay. All right. So is it ready to be merged in?
Yep.
Alright, let's look at what you took out of the jasmine. Right, the old tests. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Just make sure to pull
Mm-hmm.
from your origin.
Oh, what changed with the front file?
I added a new task, grunt karma CI.
Oh. Right. Okay. So All right, it's been updated. My pull request, that is.
Cool.
Take a look at it.
Travis hasn't seemed to have picked it up yet, or at least
Showed
started
as a
on
yellow
it.
dot for me, so
Yeah, it's created, but it hasn't started running.
hmm.
For me, please.
While we're waiting for that, we could also put on some water and watch it boil, maybe. Maybe watch some grass grow too.
Right. Let me have a look at the diff again. Oh, did you manage to get JSHint working?
The query selector? Oh,
JSHint.
JSHint doesn't fully work, no. We still need to figure out why it, well, so codealia app is undefined in every single one of those, but we don't have any problems with our Jasmine tests, so
Right.
I don't know what's up with that.
Okay.
But it does provide useful, so besides the false positives, it does have useful things about the semicolons and stuff like that. So it's not a bad idea to introduce JS hinting into the project,
Cool.
I think. Um, do you want to join me in another hangout with Marcelo?
What are you guys planning to work on?
I think he just wants to help for 5 minutes, but we might as well just move over there. I just posted a link in the hangout here.
Sure. Will do.
Alright, I'm heading over there.
Okay.